Former Navy SEAL Jeff Gum is joining us today. Jeff served our country in defense of our freedom for 10 years in the United States Navy. He was a SEAL in SEAL Team 5 with 2 deployments to the Middle East and served as lead petty officer of the SEAL Combatives program. He earned his bachelor's degree in business management at the University of Central Florida and his MBA at UCLA Anderson. And he's the founder of the athleisure brand Sunga Life. Jeff Gum is also a scientific master diver with the nonprofit Force Blue team and serves on the board of the Adaptive Training Foundation. Jeff Gum, welcome to Next Steps Forward.
Hey, thank you so much for having me, Chris.
No, thanks for your time. I appreciate it. Know how busy you are given your bio there. So I know we were chatting, you've got a lot of miles to put on. So let's just get right into it.
Awesome.
You grew up in the Lehigh Valley in Pennsylvania and attended the University of Central Florida, majoring in business management and entrepreneurship. Where did your passion for business and entrepreneurialism come from?
A lot of members of my family were always involved in different ventures. Even my grandfather, he ended up buying a farm that I grew up on. My dad kind of took over that farm. So that's a venture and a lot of hard work in itself. I had, countless chores from the time I was 4 years old. And then I ended up going down to UCF. I was actually in Army ROTC at first, and I lived with my cousin before school started because the Ranger Challenge started before school did. And so I saw my cousin had a company. It was very successful. And I saw the life of an entrepreneur and that it was a lot of work, but also he was in control. He got to create everything that would come to him. He was in charge. The success or the failure was all on him. And I loved that idea. I just wanted to go be a special operator. Some things happened where I went to airborne school after my freshman year, and all my best friends there had just finished SEAL training. So I decided to go SEAL instead. But I had the military goals first, and then after accomplishing that goal, it was time to move into business.
So we were chatting, you're back home in Pennsylvania right now, and I'm not going to lie, I'm a little jealous. You made the move from Pennsylvania to go to college in Florida. I'm from upstate New York, as my listeners know, went further upstate New York to Syracuse, and so didn't really get the sense to go and get for warmer weather. So good for you. So you touched on your college briefly there. You're on this business path, and then boom, 2007, you enlist in the U.S. Navy. And not just the Navy, but you sign up for basic underwater demolition SEAL training in Coronado, California. That's a monumental decision. You just mentioned a bunch of your friends were doing the SEAL routine. Was that it, or was there something else?
It actually sparked my interest first. I tore my ACL when I was 16, my sophomore year playing basketball, and I was stuck in a brace. Couldn't do anything. I realized I needed like the biggest challenge to be fulfilled. I was trying to figure out what that was. And I was like, oh, SEAL training. And then 2 years later, 9/11 happened. And it just reaffirmed it 100 times more, not just to go be a SEAL, to, have a challenge and learn all this cool stuff, shooting guns, blowing stuff up, but to go after the most evil people in the world. And, but I was an athlete, but I also took all the advanced classes. I kind of felt I should go to college first, and then I can always have that to fall back on. And then if it turns out that I don't make it, at least I had a little more, life experience and everything, and a good time in college. So I went and did that. And the school I wanted to go to didn't have Navy ROTC. And I was looking at Rangers and Special Forces. And so I thought I would just do that. But then after meeting SEALs and hearing about everything they did in Coronado and all their training, and they all kind of had long hair and sideburns, and they didn't march, and they didn't say yes sir, no sir. I just kind of fit in really well with them. And so I went off to San Diego after graduating for SEAL training and everything. It kind of, went full circle and brought me back there. I feel like it was really meant to be, because the chances of going to airborne school with a bunch of guys that just graduated buds might have been like 1 in 20.
And you mentioned your interest in Special Forces. You touched on 9/11. Was your interest always there prior to 9/11, or was that really the impetus to do something and serve your country? And like you said, go get the bad guys, or did that just really solidify your thinking?
when I was younger, I kind of wanted to be in the NBA. I loved Michael Jordan and everything, but then as as I got a little older and had an injury, I realized I wanted to go. I wanted to have all the skills of blowing stuff up. I want to be able to protect my family if anything ever happened. I was really drawn to martial arts too, and but then after 9/11 happening, it just solidified it 100 times more that it wasn't just something for me, but it was a way to go serve. My grandpa, he was a Marine as well, and so he fought in Korea. He had 2 Purple Hearts, and I really looked up to him too. And so after I kind of got, the SEAL bug in my mind, then I started asking him, more questions and talking to him a lot more. And he had a really special bond with everyone he went to war with. He did Marine reunions all the way to the end. And it was actually pretty crazy. His second lieutenant in the Korean War ended up being the grandpa of one of the officers I was at SEAL Team 5 with. So, I mean, what are the chances of that? Literally, his one direct second lieutenant ended up having a grandson at my SEAL team who was an officer. So unreal.
That's unreal.
Yeah.
You talked about wanting to go and blow things up, which I love that you've said that a couple of times now. I'm curious, you talked about your basketball and your passion for that. Were you a swimmer before you signed up for underwater demolition training?
I did almost everything but that. I played like every sport. I did soccer, kicked for the football team. I ran track, cross country. The running is probably the most important aspect of BUDS, like being a natural runner or running with weight. And so I was also a power lifter. I still have the records in my high school for my weight. I squatted 500 when I was like 17, and then in competition at the IPA, and then was running close to a 5-minute mile too. But I didn't really have. I had done swim lessons as a kid and at the YMCA, but it was far from my specialty. And after I graduated college, I basically took 6 months. I got dive certified, and then I had a mentor, Mike Gecka, who is really amazing guy who taught me drown proofing and the combat side stroke. And then he set me up with a lot of collegiate swimmers, and I would just swim with them like several days a week. And then I wanted to really eliminate any weakness before I went to SEAL training. And it's a good thing I did.
I would say so. Not being able to swim and wanting to go underwater, blow things up could cause some challenges down there.
Yeah.
So our listeners know Navy SEALs are legendary warriors. How long does training last and how rigorous is it? And can you take us through an average day?
Yeah. So you go out to BUDS in Coronado, and every day is different. It might be a 4-mile timed run. It might be an obstacle course. You do all these water technical skills, drown proofing, where they tie your arms and legs behind your back and you have to bob in the water, float in the water. But for me, I was really negative, so I had to basically dolphin kick in place. Then you swim 100 meters back and forth, and then you bob again, doing flips, front flips, and mask retrieval, underwater knot tying in 15 feet of water, 50 meter underwater swim. And then you have the really fun parts, which are what really get people to quit. And that is running with boats on your heads. And then you do log PTs, where you'll have a telephone pole and you'll lunge for miles with that thing. And then you'll do basically shoulder exercises where every time you beep, they have a blowhorn. It's like beep, 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 beep. And you're just lifting it up over your head every time you do it. Or every beep, you go down, you do a lunge, then you stand up every beep. And people are just collapsing all over. It's and then between boats, logs, and surf torture, it's pretty good. And then you start Hell Week and you do all the same things, except you get 3 hours of sleep for the entire week. You get to eat a lot, but
you need to eat a lot.
You need it for the energy. But and then you make it through there, and that's basically like the selection part, where okay, now you're we're going to put some valuable training into you. You've earned the right to even be trained now. And then you do some over the beach missions, start to learn a little bit of the tactical stuff. Then you go to dive training, and you do all these really technical things where you have to take off all your gear, put it back on. The instructor will dive down, put it into a knot. You got to get it out while holding your breath. Then you go to out into the mountains for third phase. You do land navigation out there. You come back and go to the island. You have a week of pistol, week of rifle, week of demolition, a week of tactics, and then you put it all together, field training exercises. Then you finish buds. And now you're like halfway through the training to be a SEAL. Then you go SEAL qualifying training, do free fall school, all the different training that you do when you get to a team, but it's at a much lower level with guys that are the same level as you. When you go to a team, you're doing it all, but you have really experienced operators. You have guys who've done multiple deployments with you, so it's a totally different thing. But it goes about a year and a half. I kind of got injured and sick in a hell week, and then my second class, as well as when they actually figured out what I had. But so it could be maybe a little over a year and a half. But for me, I did some extra buds. If you go straight through one class, it would be like 7 log PTs. I ended up doing 17 log PTs because I got the extra buds and everything. But it just made me more prepared for everything in life anyway.
My shoulders hurt just thinking about those 10 extra sets you had there. After seeing what you had to do.
Mine still hurt.
I don't blame you. So talking about that, you mentioned your illness and doing, some extra, buds work. Was there ever a time during your training that you were ready to give up? And if so, what kept you from throwing the towel, or, pardon the tie-in here, but if the movie G.I. Jane is accurate, wringing yourself out, which people are familiar with?
Never did I ever consider it for real. There's a thing called monkey mind that one of my mentors told me, Master Chief Guild. And you might be walking down the street going to do something, and you just get a terrible thought in your mind, and you think to yourself, oh, what the heck is that? And as a human, you get these things that pop in your head all the time. And it's not your first thought who you are, it's your second thought. Your second thought thinks, oh, what the heck was that? Get out of my mind. And that's who you really are. And so even sometimes we'd be doing something that would be relatively easy. I'd be like, oh, I don't feel like doing this, I want to quit. But immediately I'd say, shut up. This is easy. This is whatever. This is all you want to do. So never did I consider truly ever quitting. I could never quit on myself with anything I'm doing. I could never go, honestly, I could never go face my friends or family or anything else if I knew or even look at myself in the mirror if I had quit on myself. I had even been performance dropped when everything went wrong. They didn't know I was sick, and my blood had become toxic and everything, and all this crazy stuff happened. And I was the first person that had been dropped that was allowed back into training. I was the first person ever diagnosed with rhabdomyolysis. And so it was a, quite the experience, but never did I take ever a serious consideration of it.
There was a recent tragedy involving the SEALs. One candidate died during Hell Week, and another was hospitalized. How does a leader know when they're pushing people too hard to achieve an outcome? And frame that, if you can, not just in life and death context of the SEALs, but in the realm of everyday business.
Yeah, so I don't know, this can be a little political, but that had never happened before, where there's students who die in training, but never after training. And it's really disappointing that this administration forced perfectly healthy bud students to, take a shot that really doesn't, no SEALs have really been at risk or very sick from COVID. And now they're doing a shot that damages people's hearts, a small percentage of people, but still it is. And then now two people, one died, he was a Yale football player, incredible athlete, and his heart was basically damaged and he pushed through it. And then same thing happened to another kid and he had to be hospitalized for it. So it's very disappointing,
No.
but if you go into the military, sometimes you don't get decisions on what you're going to do there. But what was the second part of the question? Sorry.
No, it's okay. And just, not just life and death context of the SEALs, but in the realm of everyday business, how can you realize as a leader if you're pushing people too hard?
Yeah. And this training is, they have, medical staff on following everything people do. If they keep people healthy. When I was doing these different evolutions, I would always, especially the underwater stuff, I would say I'm never going to come up until the task I have to do is complete, because I know these instructors are here. They're watching me. They have great doctors and corpsmen and SEALs. They're ready to pull me up and revive me if anything happens. So I had a lot of confidence in them. And this isn't, this isn't the Boy Scouts. This isn't whatever. This is to be the biggest, strongest warriors in the world. I started with 253 guys and I finished with 26. Occasionally accidents will happen, or there can be people that might have a small heart defect or something. I know that happened a few years ago. A student aspirated water during a beehive, which is an evolution where they kind of have 30 guys all together treading water almost on top of each other. And if people start to panic, it gets way worse. And if you're not like really, really comfortable in the water, you can start going up and down and like aspirating water and everything. And instructors saw him struggling and started to pull him out. And all of a sudden he died, and they worked on him. But typical life is completely different than SEAL training, especially for the average person. So, and people respond differently. So sometimes as a leader, you got to be able to read people. It comes with a lot of emotional intelligence and experience, where if you see some people, all you need is a little bit of positive motivation. Some people you gotta push. You can push them harder and call them out, and then that'll motivate them. So as a leader, it's extremely important to have emotional intelligence, be able to read your people and see what you got to do, what's going to push people to bring out their best, and not make people upset or feel like they're not part of the group.
So in terms of becoming a SEAL, obviously you have to have a lot of perseverance, resilient mindset. The last couple of years, as we've gone through the pandemic and COVID, and here we are at 3.0 and COVID, entering our third year, we talked right before the show, people are just tired of it. They want to get on airplanes. They want to go and live their life again. But for someone who might be struggling with developing that perseverance to take their next step forward, what advice do you have for developing a resilient mindset?
Just create goals and take little steps toward that goal every day. I didn't become a SEAL in one day. I had almost everything go wrong along the way that nearly derailed it. But when you have these accomplishments, what I thought was this horrible thing happening, being performance dropped, getting viral gastroenteritis Friday before Hell Week started, getting rhabdo during Hell Week, getting performance dropped, not knowing why I was being so weak. All these things I thought were the most horrible thing to happen to me, when in reality, they were the greatest thing to happen to me, because it challenged me to a whole nother level than I ever would have been without being sick during that. So if you can be thankful when challenges come your way and use it as motivation, and realize you're gonna learn so much more, and it's gonna mean so much more. When I made it through Hell Week finally, and I called my mom and called my sister, and they're all like yelling on the phone because they're so excited for me, because they knew like the hell I had gone through to get there, like time after time after time, after nearly failing and having my dreams ripped away. It was like the most beautiful thing in the world. And I ended up having another student in my class who he was younger and he made it through Hell Week, but I think he had been kind of he had been, the people in his boat crew might have been tough on him. He made it, but didn't do that well. And he ended up, a lot of people get Hell Week depression. I had the opposite of Hell Week depression. I was like on the moon, but especially this kid had depression, and he went up and said he was going to go quit. And I heard that, and I grab him and I'm like, if you go quit, I'm going to punch you in your face. Are you kidding me? Do you know what this took for me to get through this? Like, I was like, I've been going through this for 10 months and I'm finally here, and you're just going to throw it away. And then he didn't go quit then. And he ended up becoming like a really successful SEAL. He had like nerve damage in his neck, and that was like a big reason he could barely lift his arms up at that point. And so sometimes all it takes is that one little thing that can change you there. But
I'm afraid to ask what you qualify as a successful SEAL, so we'll save that maybe for another time. So as we strive for personal empowerment in our daily lives and careers, what are some tips for maintaining our focus and drive so that we're always working towards the things that are most important to us?
It's good to have kind of, if you have certain number, like whether it's like teammates or like best friends, different people who are experts in different areas too, because that's been one of the most important things for me going through business, is because I don't have, especially coming from the Navy and military, I don't have the answers to everything, but I have like friends and mentors who whether it's finance or accounting or computer development or crypto or whatever, and within like one person, I can reach out to them and get help or get advice in these certain subjects, and then figure out the best way to move on from there. And from having this like diverse like group of friends who are experts in so many different areas, then it's a big reason I've been successful in so many different areas in my life.
So you obviously persevered through a lot to become a Navy SEAL, again, going through the challenges you faced. But sometimes, whether it's being, budget training, whether it's in life, whether it's in business, we need to pivot and look to a plan B. What does it look like? So, the difference between pivoting and simply giving up?
Yeah, that's one of my favorite like things there, is knowing when to pivot and when to persevere. Persevering is like the story of when I was young in 23, 24, and I pushed through, persevered through SEAL training when things, had gone wrong. And then a time I pivoted was when, I had a successful career as a SEAL. I had injured my back on my second deployment in the Middle East, and it kept getting worse. I had a spine surgery. I had to fly to Landstuhl like halfway through deployment in Germany. They did surgery there. I became an instructor where I could basically pick and choose when I'm going to train and when I'm not. And then it just kept getting worse and worse, and realized I couldn't go back to a SEAL platoon. And I had always been drawn to entrepreneurship, and I had that goal from the beginning too. And I realized it was time to, go after that second goal. I had a great career, become a sniper, a breacher, multiple deployments on the West Coast, became an instructor, led training, led all the hand-to-hand combat for the SEALs, trained other special operations forces around the world. And I realized I could take that unique background and apply it to business, and do my MBA as well. I had seen friends who did their MBA at Wharton and were living in LA, and they were very successful. So I was drawn to going that route. And I thought I could still have a lot of impact and continue to serve through. I started getting my first experiences helping out with different foundations. And I'd walked across Greece from Sparta to Thermopylae raising money for the Navy SEAL Foundation there. And did some work with the Adaptive Training Foundation in the beginning. So found all these other ways to continue to serve. And
Jeff, a successful entrepreneur must have a product that people want. How and where did you find the inspiration for a winning product that people wanted as a Navy SEAL?
yeah, so I'd gone to Brazil with the Gracie family who created jiu-jitsu and UFC, and I saw everyone like wearing sungas down there. And I had my board shorts and I was going in the water, getting wet, and just walking around in a soggy pair of shorts while my friends would just dry off super fast. And I'm like, okay, I need some of these sungas. It's kind of like a hybrid between shorts and a Speedo. And then I was talking to a girl too, and I'm like, oh, I need to get some of these. And she's like, oh yeah, they're so sexy on men. And I'm like, all right, well, I'm going to get a bunch of these. And I bought a bunch and started wearing them all over the world. And then everyone's like, where can I get them? Where can I get them? Where can I get them? And I'm like, I realized at that time I was going to be getting out of the SEAL teams and wanted to kind of create. I'd been drawn to entrepreneurship, wanted to create my own company, but didn't know what to make. And so I'm like, oh, found a product and made that, and made it patriotic and all about freedom, and then started sponsoring different charity events, and so Sunga Life was born.
So inspiration isn't enough, and clearly having a woman in Brazil tell you that sungas are sexy is enough inspiration, I think. But as Thomas Edison said, genius is 1% inspiration and 99% perspiration. What happened after inspiration hit, and how much work went into developing the product and launching the company?
Yeah, it's been unreal how much work it takes, and creating my first products. Even I was using Amazon at first, and I would have my products all ship in to my apartment, and then I would basically package everything up, ship them out to Amazon, and would other products or shipments would come in, and I started making all kinds of stuff that went along with the brand, sunglasses, headbands, and yeah, it's unreal how much work it took. And then also I got my application into UCLA, started there, started taking everything I learned from business school and applying it back to my brand, brought it kind of through the entrepreneurship pipeline. And then it ended up being my master's thesis at UCLA as well, and built my team with other MBA students, and sort of contracting all different kinds of positions, from the marketing to email, Facebook ads, Google ads, the warehouse. Pulled all my stuff off of Amazon because I realized they're not a very good partner, and yeah, all these different things. It was like juggling a million different things, but it was exciting at the same time.
I won't tell Jeff Bezos what you just said, but I love the fact that you were doing your own fulfillment, and then you're using your MBA classmates as essentially your interns to
Yeah,
jumpstart the shot in the arm for the company. So that's American
totally.
ingenuity right there. Brilliant. So I'm going to go off track a little bit here for a moment, but I have to ask, obviously you were in Brazil when you came up with the idea for Sunga Life, as you just mentioned. Do SEALs have to worry about their personal safety either here on US soil or traveling abroad?
You don't want to be making too, it depends where you go. And in Brazil, you don't really have to worry about terrorism, but it can be, there's areas that are not safe for sure. Now, I was with my friends who are all grew up in that area. They all speak Portuguese. They're all professional fighters and everything. And they have I would go to the BOPI headquarters too, if you ever saw the movie Tropa de Elite. And it's about these, they're kind of like SWAT, but they go out and fight like gangsters in the favelas and kind of drug dealers and all kinds of things. Like nightly, it's almost like every night they deploy to a war zone. And so I got to go and hang out on their base, meet the guys, do all that. But then, but where I go there, I'm with people that know to good places to be. They're all my translators as well. It's a positive and a negative because most of them all speak English too. So I haven't learned as much Portuguese as I should, but
There's time.
yeah. But there's other. I've always been pretty everywhere I go. Even people say, "Oh, we foreigners don't like Americans or this or that or whatever." Everywhere I've ever gone, people love America nonstop. I'll wear an American flag headband and everyone will come up and be like, "It's so awesome. You're from the USA." And then friends I'll meet over there, they'll send me like Instagram, like stories or things of them like waving an American flag to like say hi again and everything. So it's always been, I've always had great relationships with people I meet overseas.
So back to Sunga Life. We've moved on from your apartment and you're doing your own fulfillment and your interns from school. Where's the company based? How do you produce your line of clothes? Where do you sell them? And more importantly, how can our audience learn more about your products and your mission?
Yeah, so originally I was manufacturing in the US and in California, but they were a little hard to work with. They wouldn't always get back to me and stuff. So I ended up finding someone that made these patches, and I saw like these American flag patches and bone frog patches or different military patches, and I'm like, oh, I want to use these patches for my swimwear. And it's actually, you can kind of see this one here. So they're like, oh, what's it for? And I'm like, oh, it's for the swimwear. They go, oh, we could make that for you. I'm like, oh, where are you guys based? And they're like, Pakistan. And I think I'm like, oh, I didn't want to make my stuff really over there, but they're like, oh, we'll make a sample for you. They made an incredible sample. It was like a very small business. It was a son and his dad, and I realized they're like really good guys over there, really hardworking, really hungry for the work, and they ended up making incredible samples for me. And then from there, I was able to take all my ideas and put it into action. And they've been an incredible partner and really helpful with my growth and everything. And then I have a warehouse in San Diego. It's a fulfillment warehouse. Actually, a former SEAL instructor of mine, Ryan Williams, he owns Industry Threadworks, and they do private label, but also fulfillment. So I basically have all my stuff made. It's shipped there. They take it all in, put it into a Shapiro system, and it all gets populated into my Shopify website. And I sell everything on my website from there. And I have a lot of friends or influencers or different people that will wear my stuff and create content and put it out there. And then I'll do some Facebook ads and Google ads and everything. And that's how I market it. And just sell everything on sungalife.com, SUNGALIFE.com.
Perfect. Just like the script said. Well done. So we've been spending the last 30 minutes talking about your many talents, but I don't think one of them is you being a fashion designer, or are you?
I'm not a designer, but I'm really good at having ideas or like things I like, and then working through a designer to create it. So I created a lot of my own camo. I called it the Naked Warrior Camo, which honors the original frogmen that cleared the beaches in Normandy and Iwo Jima. You can see Naked Warrior statues. They're basically a frogman who's just one of the original SEALs in like the 40s, who is in a tiny pair of shorts, almost like a Sunga, and he's got a knife. He's got a mask. He might have a haversack mine and some fins, and that's all he has. And that's why they called him the Naked Warrior. And I kind of that was another thing when I saw that, and it kind of I knew about it, but it like clicked that it had this company, and I'm like, oh, I'm definitely on the right track. And so I'm not a designer, but I created my own camo, created these peacock designs, kind of just working with the designer to kind of take my ideas and bring them all to life.
So we've talked about a lot of your accomplishments. What are you most proud of to date, and where do you see the company going?
Probably most proud of is the way I handled all that adversity when I was going through training, and it's also this, like, what helps me the most when things are tough, because I've had a lot of challenges since then, whether it's just life, relationships, or business, and I knew what I went through, and how, like, tough that was. But I always think back to, these moments where my dreams were ripped away and I still persevered through. And um and then now what I'm most proud of is, I want to really build these companies to be really successful. I have a few other ventures that I'm about to launch. I'm launching the Frogmen NFT, which is, if you've heard of like Bored Apes Yacht Club, or there's CryptoPunks, but there's a lot of different apes and chimps and all these different things. So this isn't Planet of the Apes. The Frogmen are here, and the Frogmen are here to take over. So I'm launching that with some other seals. We're going to be dropping 5326 of them, and the significance of that number is that the Naval Enlisted Code, or NEC code, every job in the Navy has a different number, and that's like the number for the SEALs. So we're dropping 5326 of them, and we have, Ed Byers is one of our executives, Rob O'Neill, Rudy Reyes, Will Chesney, a lot of amazing guys who have done a lot of incredible work, are going to have their own, like, one of ones, their own, like, individual frogmen for them. And yeah, it's really, really exciting to be doing that. And then I'm also launching with Rob and Ed and my other business partner, Jesse. We're launching the Challenge Coin cryptocurrency. So it's going to be like the first military cryptocurrency. Kind of lucky we got this name. Actually, Koch Larson came up with the name. We were all thinking of different names, like Challenge Coin, which, military and law enforcement and first responders all have their own individual coin and everything. So it's kind of perfect for that community. And we're launching that with Russ Davis, who was like the main marketer for the Shiba coin, which was one of the most successful coins of 2021. So that's another really exciting project that we're on. So to be able to create some different companies that have lasting value and help people, and try to help shape culture the right way. A lot of people right now are trying to be victims because it's just easier to be a victim. And that's what a lot of people want to celebrate right now, is this victimhood, and they want to say masculinity is toxic and everything, but really the thing that's lacking in our world now is strong men and like real masculinity, and people standing up for the weak and people that can't defend themselves. So that's what my companies are about, and finding ways to continue to serve and everything. And that's why I go ahead and do all these different events, diving and saving the coral reef with the Force Blue team, swimming the Hudson River with other SEALs and Patriots, doing the same thing with the Honor Foundation in San Diego, and the Adaptive Training Foundation, helping amputee and spinal cord injury veterans. So, and then just having all these companies like help support them at the same time, but be a help shape culture at the same time, and motivate people to be a better version of themselves and seek to be a hero and not a victim.
Clearly your DNA is born to serve. And so thank you for all that you have done and continue to do. And just personally, I want to thank you for that. So it seems to me that you recognize the value and joys of a balanced life, although it sounds like you work way too much. You work hard, you play hard, you give back. One of my producers lives by the Webb Wilder credo, which is work hard, rock hard, eat hard, sleep hard, grow big, and wear glasses if you need them. But that's a story for our next show. You participate in various charitable causes, which you touched on a couple. Last August, you were involved with the GI Go Fund's Navy SEAL Swim and Run, commemorating the 20th anniversary of 9/11. What did that event involve for participants? Who did it benefit, and how did it help those that it benefited?
Yeah, so I've been helping out with the GI Go Fund for 3 years now. They launched it first in I guess it was August 2019, did again August 2020, did again last year, August 2021. And started off with about 30 Navy SEALs who swim the Hudson River, start in Liberty Park in New Jersey, running with giant American flags. We honored Remington Peters, who died Memorial Day a few years earlier. He was jumping in with the leapfrogs. He was a friend of mine. We went through the combative instructor course together. And so we did some push-ups to honor him and his sacrifice, and swam around Ellis Island onto a barge, did 100 push-ups, 20 pull-ups to honor our nation's diversity, everyone coming through there, swam over around Statue of Liberty. First it was Statue of Liberty, then it was Ellis Island, honor our nation's freedoms, and then all the way across to Manhattan, we were given giant American flags again, ran to America's Response Monument, and then did another 100 push-ups and 20 pull-ups, and that was to honor all the sacrifice of our brothers through all the wars, Iraq and Afghanistan, and then I raised a lot of money. I think the second year was around $750,000 or something. It was at least 300 plus I think the first, a lot of money again last year. I don't know the exact number, but it's to help get homeless veterans off the street in New York City. So, there's a serious pandemic with suicide and also homelessness for veterans. A lot of people, sometimes they lose having that important mission, and they lose like the brotherhood from being in a platoon, and they lose a lot of meaning in their life, and they can really struggle. So it's a great way to help get them off the street through the GI Go Fund. It gets them new clothes, a new apartment, gets them training for whatever job they want to go into, and then helps get them back and bring meaning back to their life and everything, and help make them a productive member of society, and reconnect them with family and everything else. So it's very special to be a part of that. And I donate a bunch of my swimwear for everybody doing the swim. And it's a great way. That way we all look really good wearing Sunga Life and stand for all those things I talk about at the same time.
So we just talked about the GI Go Fund. You've mentioned Force Blue and the Adaptive Training Foundation a couple of times now. All those causes have a common thread with a military connection, but they're also very different in their own ways. There are thousands, if not tens of thousands of causes to which you could give your time, talent, and treasure to. How do you choose the causes that you're involved in, and what does your volunteerism give back to you?
Yeah, so the causes I typically work with are where I have a personal connection with the CEO and like founders. It's kind of crazy. I don't know if I manifest these things or what, but it's really awesome. I was one of my heroes actually before I went into SEAL training. One was Pat Tillman. Most people know his story. The other one was Kyle Maynard. He was born without arms and legs and was this champion wrestler and jiu-jitsu fighter. And I used to think, when I'd be doing jujitsu and everything, if I get blown up, I'm just going to be really strong for my weight class, the way Kyle is. And then me and Kyle ended up running into each other at a bar and becoming best friends and roommates and traveling around the world together. And he helped me with Sunga Life for a while too. And then I saw this other guy on a random viral video on Facebook, and he had this foundation that trained amputees and amputee veterans. And I was like, man, that guy's awesome. He was an NFL linebacker. I'm like, that guy's awesome. I bet I'd be good friends with him. And then probably 6 months later, I'm like best friends with him too. And we're traveling and doing all this different stuff. And so after helping out with the foundation for several years and becoming even closer with Dave Vabora, he had asked me to go on the board of the Adaptive Training Foundation. And so I was just out working out with different amputee and spinal cord injury veterans in Dallas, Texas. Then we did, it was at the end of the 9-week training program they did. Then we went to Colorado. We did a week of skiing there as well, had an absolute blast. The Force Blue team, I've always been into the ocean and everything there. I dove at the Great Barrier Reef, saw the damage going on. I'd heard of this Force Blue team where they it was special operators diving and saving the coral reef. And I was like, I want to be a part of it, but I was so busy with all these different things going on. And randomly, the founder of that, Rudy Reyes, ended up hitting me up on Instagram and being like, yo, Sunga Life is amazing. One team, one fight. I founded the Force Blue team. We should get together. And I'm like, this guy looks awesome. And then we ended up meeting up and working out and became best friends with him too. And next thing, I'm on the Force Blue team and going and doing all these missions, and just the best thing in the world to be. And it's like when you're on the right path, doors will open where there was previously walls, and that just keeps happening over and over for me now. And that's why when I get great opportunities, I have to take them, even if I'm doing too much already. So
now we have to be best friends. Everyone's pinging you.
Yes,
I pinged you. So
exactly.
keep the trend going here for you.
Yeah.
So do you encourage other people to give back? And if so, what do you tell them to motivate them?
Yeah, I absolutely do, especially veterans who get out and are looking for ways to continue to serve. And if they got to do it with something that they're passionate about. So if they, like, I from Kyle especially, and other SEAL friends who had kind of been blown up in Afghanistan, lost limbs, I specifically try to help things with amputee veterans or ocean conservation, just anything I'm passionate about. So if maybe someone is, likes kids who are under, like my friend James, he founded one of Floyd Mayweather that helps kids in inner city with boxing. It's called like Gloves Over Guns. And so whatever people can do that they're passionate about is the best thing, because then it's not even work for them. And similar thing for work too. I've gravitated towards work and ventures of things I'm really passionate about. Could I be like a consultant or work in finance? I'm sure I could, but I wouldn't enjoy it nearly as much as running around the world in a Sunga. So,
I used this last week. There's a country singer named Luke Bryan has a phrase, do what you love and call it work. And it sounds like that's what you're doing.
yeah, exactly.
Good for you.
With a bunch of my best friends and everything, and trying to make a difference at the same time. It's like passion. It's trying to combine purpose, passion, and profitability.
I love that. Jeff Gum, my newest best friend. Thanks so much for being with us today.
Hey, thank you so much.
The company is Sunga Life. The website is www.sungalife.com. And as always, thank you to our listeners and viewers for tuning into this week's episode of Next Steps Forward. I'm Chris Meek. For more details about upcoming shows and guests, please follow me on Facebook at facebook.com/Chris Meek Public Figure, and on Twitter at Chris Meek_USA. We'll be back next Tuesday, same time, same place, with a leader from the world of business, politics, public policy, sports, or entertainment. Until then, stay safe and keep taking your next steps forward.